I bought an inflatable boat to solve one problem. My wife wanted to spend time on the water. Instead, I created 3 more problems. Now I'm trying to decide whether I should buy a different inflatable, get an aluminum welded, or build one completely from scratch. And somehow that's still not even the biggest thing that came out of this project. To explain that, I need to back up a little bit. A few weeks ago, my wife and I were at the lake. I actually brought my camera and tripod with me because I was just testing some gear and wanted to get some shots. While we were sitting there, she noticed these people that were launching on stand-up paddle boards. And she started telling me about when she went with her sister in Arizona, how much fun she had, and that we should get one. Somewhere in that conversation, she kind of planted a seed. And while we were actually sitting there, I jumped on Amazon and I started searching for inflatable boats. I had the K2 Explorer kayak by Intex, which is an inflatable kayak, and it was about $150. And the more I thought about that, the more I realized I wasn't solving the problem. My wife doesn't want to spend all day paddling around, right? She wants sunshine. She wants to relax. She wants to stretch out and just enjoy being on the water. So I kept looking, and I found little rafts, the Intex Seahawk and the Explorer, these tiny little basically pool toy things. I was like, well, that's not robust enough. I came across the Excursion 4. It was the same exact price as the K2. It actually had an Amazon payment plan, which was perfect for me because I didn't have the money. And it was big enough for both of us. And I felt like this was a safe way to get our feet wet without making this huge commitment. What happened next is probably predictable if you've ever met me, because once I buy something, I immediately start trying to figure out how to modify it, whether it's a computer or furniture or a car, it doesn't matter. I can't leave anything alone. So naturally, I just started watching videos, and people were building floors and canopies and motors, and they were creating these little fishing boats out of inflatable rafts. And somewhere along the way, I thought I could do that. Totally could do that. I have the tools, I have the time. So I just ordered a pile of parts. I went to the hardware store and got what I needed. I ordered the canopy online, and I got the stuff to build the deck and the anchor and the shelf on the back and, the cooler. And eventually the thing actually started looking like a little boat. What I didn't realize at that time was that another idea was growing too. I wanted to make videos, not because I wanted to be famous, not because I thought it would make any money. I just felt pulled towards creating something. And the strange thing is this wasn't even completely new to me. Over the years, I've been involved in all kinds of creative projects. I've been a director on music videos, cinematographer. I've actually been on stage. I've produced theater festivals. I've been in films. I've been behind the camera. I've edited. So it wasn't like I just suddenly discovered this creativity. It was like a reconnection with something that had been, sitting on the shelf for a long time, which made it even stranger that I was so nervous to pick up a camera and point it at myself and start talking. So I bought a microphone and a tripod, and I put together a little recording setup from stuff I already had, a little SSD recorder, and I just started thinking about I could do this. So the boat had delivered, and I got all the stuff, and I was sitting with my wife in the living room, and she said, "You should make this a video." And she didn't know I already wanted to do that. I just was afraid to say it, but she kind of like gave me permission out loud so I could truly grab it. But I was still so uncomfortable with the thought of talking to a camera that I made her stay inside with the TV on away from the garage door when I recorded, because I didn't want anyone to hear me talking. I just felt ridiculous. But I kept filming it anyway. And somewhere between building the boat and editing the footage, making the video, doing the voiceovers and the audio and the graphics and the thumbnail, something somewhat unexpected happened. I realized that I loved it. Not just the boat, the whole process, the creating, the learning, the building, the navigating the apps, and looking at different cuts and doing different edits and just telling a story. For the first time in probably a decade, I actually felt excited to work on something. Before I knew it, the boat was finished. I filmed everything. Launch day came. You know, the deck worked, the canopy worked, the anchor worked, the cooler, the tube, everything. And most importantly, my wife loved it, which if you watch the first video was technically the secondary objective. So in that sense, it was mission accomplished. And the funny thing is that the project succeeded so well that it created a new problem. Because after spending a full day on the water, I started to notice things. Not failures, not even things that I would necessarily improve, just limitations I had with the boat itself. You know, I spent the entire day rowing. My shoulders were destroyed, like I spent an entire 45-minute gym session wrecking my delts. I wanted more capability. I wanted more performance. I wanted a motor, a keel, something that would track better, something a little bit more substantial, something a little easier. And then that's when I made the mistake of doing more research. Because with me, research never ends with just getting the information. It always ends with another project. I jumped on and I saw a boat that actually caught my eye the first time. It was the Mariner 4. It sort of was it was more of an inflatable dinghy rather than a pool toy, right? It was still portable, it was still inflatable, it was still easier to store. Still all the reasons I like the Excursion in the first place, but it was tougher, right? It was more capable, it was more future-proof, higher pressure. And the more I looked at it, the more it felt like the boat I should have bought in the first place. But because of the price and the lack of payment plan, I couldn't. Wanting something and being able to justify it are two completely different things, especially when you're planning a move, especially when money is tight. So then another thought appeared. If I'm already thinking about spending the money, why stop at another inflatable? And that's when I started looking at aluminum welded and riveted boats on Marketplace. And we actually went to Bass Pro Shop and I was looking at the trackers, and weeks of watching people on the internet customize these aluminum boats, even when they probably had no business doing so. This is exactly the kind of content that gets me in trouble. And then I wasn't even comparing boats and inflatables anymore. I started wondering, like, could I build one of these? Could I make it out of aluminum or get a welder, learn how to rivet? And then I looked up the price of aluminum sheets. I realized it's probably better to just buy one. I'd be lying if for a second I didn't consider selling my Nancy Pelosi stock trader portfolio. But now I'm kind of standing at this fork in the road. Do I keep the Excursion and just be content and grateful? Do I sell it or return it and get the Mariner? Do I save even more and get a Tracker 12 or 14? Or do I build an aluminum boat? I don't know, honestly. And for the first time in a long time, I'm kind of okay with not knowing, because there's one more thing that happened through all this. I uploaded the first test video. I was super nervous. I sent my wife a link to the unlisted, and I was at work. She had texted me a bunch and I didn't see it. And I called her on my lunch break, and she was so emotional on the phone. She was on the brink of tears. She told me that she was actually crying a little bit while she watched it because she was so proud of me. And I don't think she was talking about necessarily the boat or even the day that we went out. You know, it wasn't the deck or the canopy. I think she was just proud that I had an idea and actually followed through and showed her that I'm a man she can count on, and that I can learn a new skill, and that I can finish something difficult, and I can create something from nothing. And to me, that's when the whole thing, you know, it stopped just being about the boat, because the boat wasn't really what she was looking at. She was looking at an idea that became a project, right? A project that became a finished video that I almost talked myself out of making. For the longest time, I just felt like I knew that there was more in me than my circumstances allowed me to express. There was more ideas, more creativity, more capability. This project didn't solve all of that, but it did give me something that I hadn't felt in a long time. Momentum. Proof. Not because the video got views, because it hasn't, because some strangers approved of me, because they haven't, because I did something difficult and worthwhile, and I finished it. And somebody who knows me better than anyone else saw that too and expressed it to me. And it made me realize the boat was never the point. You know, maybe I just needed a project big enough to get moving again. The Excursion 4 build, it was supposed to be a toe in the water, and it was. It just wasn't in the way I expected. So whatever comes next, whether it's the Mariner 4 or a tracker or an aluminum boat build or just another crazy idea that I haven't thought of or researched extensively yet, I know one thing for sure. I'm not done building. I'm not done creating. I'm definitely not done challenging myself. I don't know where this is going to go, but I really look forward to doing this with a community of people that can watch. And even if no one else watches it, at least I have an archive for my kids or just for myself when we're older that showed we didn't take life too seriously, we took some risks, we challenged ourselves, and most importantly, we had fun. Again, if you're watching this, thank you for watching. Please check out the first video. It was me getting back into the game. I don't think I did too bad. I'm gonna learn a ton and I'm gonna move forward and do a lot better with more. But it was a starting point, and that's important to remember. Stop getting so hung up on the quality of things and just realize that taking a step is just as important. Thank you very much. Take care. See you on the next one.